do? It's Hobby Nonsense, and it's your boy, Sports Boy, aka Jesse Gibson. Welcome to the show, everyone. It is the year of our Lord, June 16th, 2025 AD, and it is going to be a fantastic day because it is Marvel Day, Marvel release day. I've already been jacked up on breaking Marvel all morning, so we're going to talk about that eventually in the show, but I don't know what it is. Every time I wake up early and I hit the ground running in a break where I'm like, it's really not so much the activity of breaking, it's more of like the activity of being active with you guys, like the guys who listen to the show. Some people, a lot of guys just join to talk and hang out, and other people want to see the cards as well. But ever since then, the rest of the day, I'm just high as a kite on fun and non-sports cards. So welcome to the show. There's going to be a number of non-sport topics on today's show, but there's also going to be some more collector-based content toward the end, not specific to cards. I'm going to let you find out more about that when we have our guest on, because I don't want to scare you off because it's a different topic. It's collector-based. It's very interesting. It's more adult-oriented in the sense, not what you're thinking. But I'm not going to tease it anymore because I feel like I'm going down a road I can't come back from. So let's go ahead and jump into a few topics in the world of non-sports, shall we? So actually, right before I started the podcast, I just got a notification on the Sports Cards Nonsense Facebook page. They had requested us to collaborate on Instagram on a post for VeeFriends. VeeFriends had requested us to, I guess, collaborate because there was a guy in the Facebook group who mentioned that he got offered a buyout on his Superfractor Michael Rubin VeeFriends card. I'm curious what you guys would have guessed this would go for, because it's not an auto or anything. It's just the Superfractor card. It's raw, and the guy sold it to none other than Adam of Dave and Adams. So Adam of Dave and Adams is the purchaser of the Michael Rubin Superfractor card. He bought it from the guy in the Facebook group. I think his name was Jay. Bought it for $25,000. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the going rate for a Rubin card, but either way, I haven't seen another Rubin card recently, at least in a Superfractor form. Maybe that's big money. I'm curious what you guys think about that, though. Like, is that value appropriate, or is it maybe more because, like, oh, well, it's a businessman and it's another businessman and there's a little bit of, befriending. I don't want to say kissing butt, but there could be a little bit of that. I don't know. So yeah, we've seen cards, especially we've seen non-sport cards go for that high and higher. So it's not that crazy of a thing. And VeeFriends is a very popular product. There may be some making the argument that was too little. It's not enough money. I'm just curious. I'd be curious when this inevitably gets clipped up for social media. You guys can respond back there. Of course, on Spotify, I don't know if you guys know this. If you listen on Spotify for free, there is a area on there where you can leave comments on the shows. I can comment back, leave fun little emojis. Really, it's only like 6 emojis I get to choose from. There's a thumbs down, but there's not a thumbs up option. I don't care for that. That's just a fun fact for anybody at Spotify listening. So anyways, that was a piece of recent news that had just made the wire, as they say. Another interesting thing, I took a couple screenshots, and in fact, a couple of you have sent me articles about this and reels. So some may have heard this already, but Pokemon is becoming a thing, not just in the card world, not just in the game world. Hershey's and Pokemon have collaborated recently. They are making Hershey's Kisses that look like Pokeballs, but on the bottom of them, they have the Pokemon character. Have you guys seen this yet? You're supposed to be able to collect all 151 of them. I have not seen if there is like a rare one, like if there's one that just doesn't show up. I think this just hit the news like maybe 5 days ago. They're selling on eBay for, in some cases, like $25 a pack as of today, the 16th. I don't know if that continues. I don't know if this is just like a gimmicky thing, and inevitably every gimmick has buyers in it, but I don't know if this will be a big thing overall. But I did think it was interesting to know like the collectability of Pokemon is now being spread into chocolate candies. Listen, people, do you ever feel like we're getting to the point where like we're overdoing it with the synergy aspect of our marketing? You know, like, oh well, Hershey makes kids candy, and Pokemon's a candy, or it's a it's a game and or card and or show for kids. Let's put them together and we'll advertise this to children. That's fine. I get why you would do that. But then it's also like Happy Meals, and it's every plushie out there. And there's so much that it feels like it's gonna collapse. Like when it becomes everywhere, I get the fear that that's when you start to see the cracks where people are like, okay, it's too much. I don't care anymore. I would like to take a step back from this. That is my fear. And I'm not saying like, oh, the sky is falling, card market is doomed type of thing, but it does make me wonder, like, oh, how close. I was thinking for a time, like, hey, the Pokemon market is doing well. It did have a pullback, but it's still like some of the big cards are still big. And it seemed like maybe a healthy pullback, but at the same time, with it being everywhere, it just makes me wonder if people start to get sick of it. So curious, again, how that ends up going, but that was one of the new things. But along with Pokemon, there was one other thing that this may have been around forever. Maybe this has been a thing for quite some time. Pokemon is integrated into Google as well. Like Google, the search engine. So if I go to Google and I type in, let's say Pikachu. Ooh, I don't know. I've never actually tried Pikachu specifically. But if you type in a name of a Pokemon, there is I guess there's a feature in the search engine that will pop up and you can like collect them within Google. I'm still trying to get this worked out because I've seen other people do this and they've been able to like, when you do the search, there'll be like a little Pokeball that pops up and it's like, do you want to like add this to your Pokédex? I am trying to get this to work. I've seen others make it work. I would be curious if you guys know how this goes. Maybe it's just on mobile. It is. I've confirmed Pokemon. The ability to catch them on Google is like on your mobile platform. I have not been able to make it work on my desktop, but if you go on your phone and you go to Google and you type in, I just typed in Charizard, and it'll have like a little pop-up Pokeball that lets you catch that Pokemon if you want it. You can then add it again to your Pokédex, and it says like, I don't know if you catch it every single time or if sometimes it does get away. But then you get like a little note that says, catch the remaining 150 Pokemon by searching their names. I think that's kind of cool, actually, like that they're doing this, but I'm going to type in like Eevee. We'll try that one. So if I go to Google, type in Eevee. All right. So when I type this in, I get a little Pokeball in the bottom right corner. If I tap that Pokeball, there's an animation that goes where Eevee pops onto the screen. The Pokeball comes out and it shakes like it's trying to catch it, and it caught it. Again, I don't know if it works every single time. I'm curious what happens when you collect all 151, because again, I think it's just the original 151. But again, this is just another example where Pokemon's everywhere all the time. And at least this is kind of fun. I'll be honest. I don't hate this, but it's just like, is there enough? Like, are we at a point where we're oversaturated? I don't know. Time will tell. Couple other points. We talked about Labubu on the last episode. Ray was familiar with this. Labubu's a character, a collectible character, comes out of these Chinese markets, and they have been huge. Like it's growing in the US very much so, but like in China, they're passing laws like where you can't incentivize like opening bank accounts or something with Labubu characters. Like if you open an account, you get a character over it. It's absolutely massive. Like there's 6-figure sales now. At this point, I think we will see it even more so. Like you may be hearing it for the first time on here. Maybe you've heard about it for a while. I am curious where that continues to go because ever since we talked about it on the last pod, I feel like I'm seeing it more and more. I would not be shocked to see a card set if there's not one already. But yeah, it is very much a pop culture collectible item. And since we cover collectibles on this pod quite a bit, I figured it had to be mentioned. Another note, So this was something that came out late last week. I talked a little bit about it on the SCN pod, but GameStop is poised to make some moves in the market, and it's looking more and more so like they're going to be inhabiting the card space even more so. There's some theories floating around out there that maybe they're even going to make an offer for PSA, but whether that's the case or not, whether that actually moves forward, this is an article from IGN that says basically GameStop's doubling down on high margin potential trading cards such as the Pokemon TCG and the like as a natural extension of their existing business. So the article says this, and there's a few quotes that I'm going to read for you. So in its 2025 annual meeting, CEO Ryan Cohen told shareholders that the company had seen its first profitable opening quarter since 2019 due to reducing costs, cutting excess inventory, streamlining headcount, closing unprofitable stores, exiting underperforming geographies, and focusing on the core fundamentals of the business. Those fundamentals, it turns out, are trading cards. Cohen says it's called a natural extension of the game aspect of what they do. It goes on to say, Cohen says, we are focusing on trading cards as a natural extension of our existing business. The trading card market, whether it's sports, Pokemon, or collectibles, is aligned with our heritage. It fits our trading model. It appeals to our core customer base, and it's deeply embedded in physical retail. Unlike software, it's tactile. Unlike hardware, it has high margin potential. It's a logical expansion. I am very curious where we go with the GameStop market. Like, what do we see those stores become? I do think there's value in them becoming more of a collectible shop, to be, an overall collectible shop, not necessarily a card shop, not necessarily a game shop. Can I go in there and get all those things? I'd love to be able to do that. In fact, this weekend, I found out that there's this Replay toy store here in Hendersonville, Tennessee, where I live. It's actually kind of cool because I didn't realize, I thought it was like going to be little kid toys and stuff like that. I went in there, I got a binder of Batman Return cards for $15. It's like a full set of the multiple series of Batman Returns with like Michael Keaton in it. And the cards look great for $15. I was like, that was insane. And then I saw the Magneto helmet that some of you have maybe seen me wearing on social media as I'm talking about the new Marvel Topps Chrome product. These things were in there. There's so many like different backpacks. If you're going to see like a Labubu, it's probably going to be in a store like that. And that's where it's like, oh, GameStop would be the natural place for a lot of these items to be, where you don't have to rely on like a mom and pop owned shop in your town, but it's more of like a, hey, this is a nationwide place, and it adds more data points where it's like, oh, we can track and see what is doing well, what needs to change. It just seems like it would fit the model of corporate America. Not that I'm saying like, oh, that's always the best thing to do. I do like the aspect of the locally owned card shop. I like that I can go to those card shops and they know more about the products than, say, a big corporate shop. But at the same time, they probably have maybe wider access to different products. Like a GameStop would have wider access to these things. I think that there could be some really good potential in the overall economic climate that we're in right now. Because we kind of talked about that last episode too, about like that lipstick effect where the market's a little unsteady. I think for most people, they can probably see that themselves, that lipstick effect where I want to buy something to give me that dopamine feel to feed that craving of, treating myself. But at the same time, I'm not going to go out and spend $5,000 on a big vacation. So they go out and buy the little trinkets for their hobby or the card box or something like that as a way to satisfy that craving. I think that, the idea of GameStop expanding to the collectible space would feed that so well, right? But at the same time, people still are buying video games no matter the economic climate. They're still going to buy cards. Maybe it doesn't do quite as well as it's doing right this moment, but I think no matter what, you could still find a profitable business model there. So again, Pokemon, games, sports cards, whatever they're going to do inside one of these GameStops, I think it's really interesting to see where they're taking this. All that being said, I did want to talk about Topps Chrome Marvel real quick. 2025. This is like a good news, sad news type of situation. Maybe sad, and maybe not. Maybe I'm just overdoing it. So first off, I started breaking. I broke a case of it this morning. I'm going to do the second one this evening. By the time you guys hear this, I'll have already broken both cases. It's a lot of fun, first off, because it's similar in a lot of ways, so it's familiar, but at the same time, there's a lot of new aspects. I know I commented about like the base checklist being very large. It is. However, it's cool to see more characters. It doesn't really affect me, right? Like if I'm chasing one specific character, then yeah, I guess my likelihood of pulling that character goes down. But overall, I like that they heard a lot of notes of like, hey, why does this artwork look weird? Or why are we choosing artwork from like really old comics or something like that? A lot of the artwork that people complained about has been updated and looks much better. I will say this Dark Beast character looks insane. Drax artwork has been commented on both by me and members of the break that I was in. There was like 50 something people in there this morning. If you guys were one of them, thank you so much. Shout out to you guys. But yeah, the artwork on the Drax card, Angel specifically, Wolverine is finally looking like a normal Wolverine again. I will say they gave Cyclops a similar Wolverine look in this year's set. But other than that, really, most of the characters the artwork is much better. If you've seen, there's this reflections insert where it's basically original art on these reflections cards. They look awesome. I have not pulled one myself, but it looks really cool. The artwork is very vivid. It pops. Everyone who I've talked to says that's a chase for them. The Chrome Clawed insert. This is the one where you've got Wolverine basically scratching 3 claw marks down the middle of the card. This is insane because I've never seen this before. It's basically you're a die cut, but on the inside of the card. So it actually looks like 3 claw marks going down the center of this card, and it is completely through. I thought it was like a printed on thing, but it's obviously not. I think that is probably one of the coolest inserts, and it'll be, I think, a very expensive chase. And what's great about that is it's not one character. Like it's across all the cards. So there's going to be a lot of people who are probably they are going to chase this set because of that card specifically, I feel. And I will say this, I'm not loving the fact that if you go to like Blowout right now, and I'm sure David Adams is probably very similar. If on eBay, these boxes, the last few days have been going like $350 to $400. It was $400 before this. I don't know if it's now that the product's out and people are responding positively to it. There have not been many sales on eBay, so I don't know what they're basing some of this data on, but they are jacking the price up like crazy. Like, I mean, it is, I think it's like $5,800 or something on Blowout right now for a case. And like, we haven't even gotten solicited for any additional cases. That is kind of like the sad news with all this. I don't know personally if I'm going to be solicited for any more. I had 2 cases originally, and usually there's like a nice, a big bundle where I get to break more, open more, talk about it, show you guys all the different inserts and things like that. But I got to notice today, like it's vastly cut as far as like who's going to get secondary orders. And usually we get them, but they said I may not. So that's a sad thing. I'm hoping that changes. I don't know why that would be, but nonetheless, if that is the case, it also begs the question, because there's more of this product this year than there was last year. Granted, last year it was a Topps UK product, but it's more than a lot of the other products that have come out. I think it's about, like someone said, about 4,200 to 4,500 cases of the hobby product, and then about similar amount for the retail blaster boxes or whatever they're calling mega boxes. That's more than what they had in, say, Masterwork, and we got a ton of that. So I don't know what's going on. I'm hoping this isn't the case, that we, myself, Jesse, Sports Boy, Gibson can continue to talk about it and show off like more hits and things like that. And I hope it's not like relegated to just the massive breakers out there. Let little old Sports Boy have his day in the sun so I can continue to show off and talk to you guys about it. All right. So overall, I would say the reviews are very popular. It's very positive from what I've heard. I would say the biggest bugaboo is the price. That's got to be it. I mean, other than of course me, if it's true that I'm not getting any more product, that would be devastating. But $6,900 for a case already is too high. It's why are Blowout and Dave and Adams all of a sudden offering at these prices? No one else has seen these prices. The resale doesn't garner that kind of price. That does not make sense to me, and I feel like it feels like collusion. And I hate to use words like that because I don't want to impart negative motives on things that I'm just speculating on, right? But why are they both suddenly offering such high prices when eBay resale prices are not there? The actual box prices are not there anywhere else. It just seems the breakers aren't breaking it for that much. 6,900 for a case, $575 for a box. Again, that is the biggest problem here, and I'm hoping maybe someone can step up and that gets fixed because it doesn't seem right to me, and I would wager that many of you probably feel the same. But all that being said, if you are breaking the product with me or you're breaking it with anybody else, I would encourage you, if you are not a collector of whatever cards you get, if you're not planning on keeping them, the best course of action if you are wanting to sell them, DC Sports Consignment, DC Sports 87, that's the website. If you're consigning through me, that's great. If you broke it with me, I send a package to them. They will list it next day. But I do encourage you guys to send them over to there. It's basically the best bang for your buck as far as getting them up early since the product just released. If you're not sure how to do it, it's very simple. If you go to their website, if you break it with me, it's very simple. It's even more simple, but I did want to at least mention that as far as anybody who's looking to move the product that they just got. All right, there you go. That's your non-sport update so far. We got some more updates for you in this interview coming up. I'm going to bring on Tim, and I'll tell you who Tim's with in just a moment. Tim Fraser of, are you still of the Whiskey Geeks? Is this podcast still going on actively?
It's on a small hiatus right now. It is still an active account. Life happens. I do it with my older brother, Alex, but we're currently trying to reformat how we're going to bring the podcast back in a regular fashion. But it's still going.
Well, and we've been messaging back and forth for a number of months, if not longer than that. And you are also a card guy. Your brother is as well. Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we reached out to you. So I was introduced to you. My brother introduced me to the pod. My brother and I are both big Ringer fans. And then he told me that the Sports Card Nonsense show was going on. And I tuned in, and we've started doing a couple of episodes about other various collecting, because we both collect various things. As us collectors are all kind of similarly psychotic. So yeah, that's how we came in. So I do have some cards and some other stuff that I collect as well.
Okay, before we get into, obviously the Whiskey Geeks denotes a certain collection of something. Before we get into that, I would like to know, what kind of cards do you collect, both sport and non-sport?
Yeah, so the first thing that I ever collected, kind of like religiously, I would say, as a kid, was the Series 2 Marvel cards from, I think they're like 91, 92.
Yes.
So that is the one thing that my brother and we had to have every single card. We then...
Dude, you know what's crazy about that is, like, I was just talking earlier about how I was in a Play It Again store or whatever. It's a store that resells toys. And in this store, they had a binder of cards. And in there, it was like multiple series of Batman Returns. Like, it was like complete sets of those different series. But inside there, in between those sets, was like I think it was like 92 Marvel cards. Like, it was a partially completed set in between those two sets. So it's kind of crazy that would be what you started on collecting.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we had all of them. That would be what we did. I mean, we were born in the 80s. So car trips, there was no iPads and TV. So we would go through those, and they all had the stats on the back, and we would dream up pairings, like who would win between, like, you pick your favorite person off of this page, I'll pick mine off of this page. Let's see how their stats compare. Would they win? Who would win in a fight? That whole fantasy booking, as they say in the wrestling world.
what what is it that made you, I guess, stop collecting? Because inevitably that seems to be the story, right? Like a lot of people who collected as kids, they had a period where they stopped, and I assume that's probably this case with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Star Trek tabletop RPG game, the
Oh,
next
nice.
generation game. We got into that too, and then I mean, high school happens. You start getting other things. I started playing music, so I was in bands and doing that stuff. And then,
What instrument do you play?
well, I started as I played violin as a kid, and then I played guitar and sang. But the big claim to fame was I was a saxophone player for a touring ska band for a long time. So
What would we know the ska band? What's the name?
probably not. It's called we were Angry Agency. I mean, for any Canadian listeners out there, we might we might have some fans there. But we used to play with like the Mad Caddies and Planet Smashers and Suicide Machines, a whole bunch of the punk. Any of those punk tours that came through our town, we kind of got on the bill for that. So
Dude, that's
it
so
was
cool. And
fun.
Matt K, I mean, of course, I think most of us have probably heard of them, but yeah, that's crazy. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I wish I would have asked you to bring your saxophone and play a little ditty for us, but
No
next time.
thanks. Next time.
And so when did you get into what is, I guess what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today was collecting whiskey. Cause I mean, what's funny is when when I saw Whiskey Geeks, I kind of assumed, oh, you guys are collectors of whiskeys, but I know a number of guys that I hang out with that live around here in Middle Tennessee area that collect whiskey as well. And that is like one thing that I've never really pursued, partially because I also enjoy drinking it. So it's like hard to keep it around. But at the same time, it's like I've never really fully understood what makes something valuable or chaseable and where to get it and how to get it. So I'm just kind of curious, like maybe for the novice whiskey collector, someone who wants to get into this, first off, is there money in it? Is there another personal connection you have in it? And then kind of the basics of how to do it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's various ways to do it. My brother and I got introduced it through our dad. So our dad is a big Scotch guy. We're mostly single malt Scotch whiskey fans here. We don't discriminate. We do love a good bourbon. We like a rye.
Ooh.
We'll drink some Japanese whiskey, and obviously being Canadian, we do love our independent Canadian distillers as well. But we did kind of get brought into it from a Scotch world from our dad. Our dad's a huge single malt Scotch guy. He just kind of started liking it. You get into it, and then your taste kind of change, and then you discover like, oh my gosh, there's thousands of distilleries out there, and they all have different flavor profiles. So then you buy it, and then you drink some of it, and then you move on to the next bottle, and then you want to try something different, and then before you know, you've got a decent collection. I mean, I didn't really start collecting and really kind of saving whiskeys and maybe not cracking bottles. And it was the pandemic, like a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
Is when the collection really kind of spiked. And it's before you know it, I'm sitting on 100 bottles. My dad's got over 300 different single malts in his house. It's kind of crazy how quickly it can escalate.
I know about like valuable, or I shouldn't say valuable, expensive bottles like Pappy Van Winkle is like a
Yep.
bourbon, I guess that would be very expensive. Whistle Pig, I know there's versions of it that can be pretty expensive as well. As far as like scotches go, I'm not as familiar with all of them, and I know like there's subtle differences between obviously a scotch and a whiskey or a bourbon and a whiskey. But when it comes to like if you've got a collection of 100 bottles, does it go up in value, or is it just simply like, hey, I'm collecting these because I like the taste, I like I don't know, I they're rare to find. I just can't imagine them going up in value over time if they continue to make that brand.
So the value in the way to kind of, if you're looking at it from I'm going to invest and purchase these in a way to make money, or the way that your collection can go up, is finding those one-off releases, because it's kind of like cards. They are the standard run of the mill it's called core range whiskeys. And those are your
Your
Lagavulin.
base.
Yeah, your Glenfiddich 12s. Those are your base cards that go out all the time. And then they'll have an annual limited release a lot of the time. So they'll start doing one-off releases. And then those tend to be your to 25 to 99. And I have a couple on my desk just because I wasn't sure. But like, your standard kind of limited run, like 260 bottles of a certain release. So
Oh, wow.
that is where you can kind of get into where the value kind of goes up. And then if there is a certain release that they are doing and then they discontinue it, if you have unopened bottles of that, that's when the values can start really skyrocketing. I can give a quick version of this. There's a distillery called Highland Park. Their big thing is they did like a Valhalla thing. So they do a lot of Norse god stuff. So there's Thors and Odins and all that. So they did this Valhalla series where they released Thor, Odin, Freya, and Loki. And they're all 16-year-old whiskeys. They're all with various finishes or whatnot. But that is now a discontinued series. So trying to find, when they first came out, you could probably pick a bottle up of each of them for, let's say maybe $250, $300 when they first released. You can't find any of them for under $1,200 now. Is just the bare minimum.
Wow.
And they're just so limited that they're even more expensive. Like my dad is still on the hunt for one of the four, and he can get it, but it'd have to be shipped in from the UK and he'd be looking at about $4,000. And so he's like, I'll try and find it somewhere else. So
Man, that's crazy. What's crazy too is like many of us being adults, and that's the primary listeners of this podcast. We're sitting around, we're collecting cards, and maybe we're enjoying like a beverage to enjoy that downtime. It would make sense, like those specific ones, especially in the non-sport community. It sounds like, as you're talking about these Norse gods, aka Loki and Thor and who were the other two?
Freya and Odin.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm thinking, I got to get a bottle of this for like me and my buddies if we're opening some boxes of Marvel that just came out. Like it sounds like the perfect compliment.
So this is the whole genesis behind the Whiskey Geeks. My Alex and I, we were drinking a lot of whiskey. That sounds bad, but it was the whole basis was let's pair whiskey and cigars and whatnot. So we started doing whiskey and comic book pairings. So that's how it started.
Cool.
It was hey, this Swamp Thing has, the Alan Moore run of Swamp Thing from back in the 70s was a classic run. If you wanted to sit down and read that, what whiskey would be perfect to drink while reading Swamp Thing? And so then it's like, okay, well, we picked Ardbeg Wee Beastie because it's an Isla Scotch that's really smoky and it basically smells like a peat bog. And so like, this is a smoke monster whiskey. This goes perfect with reading Swamp Thing. So that's the whole genesis behind it, was making that same connection that you just made.
I love that. I love that I'm on the same page, but also like that is so exactly what as you were telling the story and you said Swamp Thing, I was like, oh, that's right. Cause like there's a lot of scotches out there that have like that. I think the notes will be like, a peaty note or smoky or something like that. And so it makes me think like, oh yeah, if I'm like sitting down, enjoying, like got the ambiance going, maybe a fire's going, got a little scotch, a little Swamp Thing scotch going. Yeah, that sounds like a really, I don't know, like enhancing the enjoyability of the thing that I was already enjoying, so if it's comics or card collecting or whatever the case, it sounds like a nice add-on. I am curious though, is there ever like value in these things once you've opened the bottle, or do these have to stay sealed?
I mean, to really kind of have it increase in value, having it sealed is obviously the way to go. There are people out there though. I've purchased open bottles from people before if it's whiskey that I can't find anywhere else. Wow. I've done that, and I've paid over market value for it because it's hey, you can't find this. Was it Glen Farkless or whatever, this like specific one that I'm trying to get. If I can't find it and I know some guy's got it and he's like, I've only had like 2 or 3 drinks out of it. It's been sitting in my basement for like 6 years, but I can't get it. It's like, well, it's not going to cost me as much to buy his bottle for, let's say, $400. If I was to find it at an auction somewhere, it would probably be $700-800 for that sealed. So you can still do it. I mean, buying and selling booze is where you can kind of get into we don't really talk about it as much. I probably shouldn't admit that I've done it, but
Well, what's funny you say that because we've got me and my counterpart on SCN, Mike. We've got a buddy who he actually had a Instagram page that I think it grew to somewhere around like maybe 50 to 100,000 followers. This was like during COVID, and he was only promoting. He would basically just showed pictures that he would find at local liquor stores or other people would send from all over the country, where it's like, you know, you'd find a good deal on a whiskey, but Instagram sees that kind of thing and you're like promoting the buying. And then it's like, he basically got the account completely shut down after it was like mentioned in Maxim magazine or something. There was like a little article in that magazine about this account. And then it's like, oh yeah, social media just sees in the algorithm. There wasn't even a person that said anything to him. So yeah, I do wonder, like even talking about it on this pod, it's like you run that risk of like people starting to connect this with more adult material because we're talking about an alcoholic beverage. But at the end of the day, I think of it more of like the collectability of these things. And of course, if you have any, drink responsibly. But, but yeah, I find that the resale market, that you could actually have a market of people that are trying to buy that bottle of whiskey, even if you've already had maybe a little sip or a couple glasses out of it, is just it's a new world of collecting to me. And I love to find out more about things that other guys are into that I've just never heard of.
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy world that I didn't really expect that I would be as heavily into as I am. I mean, and for us, I'm not a collector in a sense of I'm not purchasing bottles to store them away to then resell for a lot of money. I buy weird and wild whiskeys that might be strange and people can't find. And there's nothing better than cracking a bottle and sharing it with people, or having friends over and be like, oh, you like Glenfiddich 12? Why don't you try this? You've never heard of it, but you can go and find this at a liquor store and try to turn more people on to different distilleries and whiskeys. There's only one bottle that I've got locked away in the basement that I am saving just in case. And it's just a weird thing. So there's a Canadian distillery out on Vancouver Island called Macaloney's. And they got sued by the Scotch Whisky Association because of their name. So the Scotch Whisky Association, they like to protect the reputation of Scotch whiskey. And they felt that them using Macaloney's Caledonian was confusing people into thinking that, oh, this is a Scotch, it's not a Canadian whiskey. So there's this big lawsuit about they had to change their name and they had to rebrand a bunch of things. So when they first released their very first cask strength special edition whiskey, I bought 2 bottles. I opened one, it's tremendous. And I was like, I'm going to keep the other one. Just it's this newer distillery's first special cask strength edition. And then this whole lawsuit thing happened. So now it's their old branding, it's their old name. And so I'm like, maybe I sit on this for 10 years and we see maybe there'll be some collectors out there that will want to pay up for it. Or I might get thirsty one night and remember how amazing it is and crack it. I'm not really sure.
Well, I mean, has it gone up in value already? Like, how do you find out? Like, if you can't go and sell this like on eBay or something, like how do you check comps, I guess?
That's the thing. I mean, it's whiskey house, like auctions would be the only kind of thing that I would be able to pull. And I don't even know what I could maybe get for that, to be honest. I mean, I think the only legit avenue you have to sell whiskeys is through an auction, because they would actually have the proper licenses, et cetera, to sell it. Much like I'm sure the card world, there's some parking lot deals that happen every now and then, and other type things. And there are whiskey festivals similar to the national and various card shows, et cetera, and cons. Like there's whiskey festivals, there's a lot of whiskey groups out there. So there are communities out there that have, chat room functions. There's some message boards where there are people in Canada like, hey, here's my collection of sealed bottles. Give me a call if you want to talk about any of them, and we can maybe kind of do a hashtag private deal.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, that at least makes sense of how that would work functionally. I am curious too. So I mentioned Pappy Van Winkle. This is like one of the more expensive ones. I know like there's Macallan scotches too that are, well, I mean, that's just like a bigger name brand that I've probably heard of, but I'm sure there's ones that I've never heard of that are even bigger and more expensive. But let's go to Pappy Van Winkle for a second. Those can get very expensive from my experience. Like, I mean, thousands of dollars, right? Like, is that, I'm not speaking out of turn, right? That sounds about right to you?
Yeah. I mean, they very rarely become available in Canada to purchase the Pappy Van Winkles. And when they do, there's so much demand that it's like a lottery system that the liquor stores will do. Like you have to register for a ticket. And then if you get a ticket, you can then buy it. But I know those get resold definitely in the thousands. After the fact. I've tried it. I don't think it's worth it.
So, so this is my question. I don't know if I've ever had a liquor that I thought, I would pay more than, I don't know, $150, maybe $200 or something. Like, I don't know if I've honestly ever bought a bottle of liquor that costs more than $200. So it's like, how is it just like you're buying the name? Like, it's like, I have, a Babe Ruth cut auto or something, and I'm putting it on my mantle because it's not necessarily like my favorite player, but it's like to say you've got Babe Ruth is a big deal. Is that something similar in the sense of like, I've got a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. There's no way people are like, that tastes $5,000 worth of whiskey.
I don't think so. I'm in the same mindset as you. Personally, I don't think the Pappy Van Winkle, Blanton, Weller, Eagle Rare, Macallan, I don't necessarily think they are worth the price point. There are many other options for much cheaper that will give you just the same enjoyment. I think there is a lot of people, especially I've noticed in the higher end spaces, that they will claim, Macallan is the best single malt scotch on the market. You ask any kind of true fan who drinks a lot from various distilleries, I don't think anyone who is a whiskey nerd or a whiskey geek, if I want to keep my branding out there, they would say, I can find you much better product than the Macallan. James Bond drinks the Macallan, so, everybody goes, it's the best one. But like, is it?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of, I've always wondered that. And I am curious, like, I'm glad to know that that's your take on it too. I'm curious if other people feel differently, if they're like, Pappy Van Winkle's the best thing I've ever had. Because I honestly, I may have tried it once somewhere, but I couldn't even remember. And if I did, obviously it didn't do enough for me to where I could even recall the event. So I am one of these guys who's like, hey, I want to know like more of like what's the best bottles out there that are the cheapest, that are slept on, like what would you say if you wanted to go out and find a good deal on something that maybe tastes better than these really expensive ones? What would you go after?
I've got tons of options for that. That's where I love to, those are the waters I like to swim in, Jesse. People say this is what I like, and I go, hey, let's take you in a different direction. One of the best, there's two bottles that I'll say, if there's people who aren't into scotch, if you're a bourbon fan and you want to try getting into single malt scotch, the three bottles that I give people all the time: Monkey Shoulder. It's a cheap blended scotch. Bourbon fans, it's a nice, easy transition into the scotch world. If you want to go from there and get into the single malt realm, I'll hold up the bottle because I brought it out. It's from a distillery in Campbelltown. It's called Glen Scotia. It's their double cask. This is their basic entry release point. You can probably find this in where you are. It's like, I think you can get it for about $90 Canadian, which is about $12, I think, American. I'm just joking. It's probably about $50. The other one, Deanston Virgin Oak. Deanston is a Highland distillery. They do fantastic work. Their Virgin Oak, again, it's a nice, easy drinking. Like, those are the three that I tell everybody. If you want to start drinking scotch, get those three. If you want something that's smoky and on the peated side, the Isla is like the island where they do all the smoky stuff. So Lefroy is kind of crazy. Don't start there. You'll hurt yourself.
Okay.
Bowmore is the one to go for.
If I'm a fan of Parks and Rec, and therefore I bought Lagavulin. I have both an 8-year and a 16-year.
Yeah.
When you like compare Lagavulin to other scotches, because honestly, I know what Lagavulin tastes like, but I don't know if I would be able to really pull it out of a lineup of other scotches
Right.
just because I haven't been as familiar with them. Where does that rank among them? Is that like it's a decent one? It's a really good one? It's an okay one? Where would you put it?
Lagavulin 16, which is Nick Offerman's, that was his go-to drink in Parks and Rec. I'm also a huge Parks and Rec fan, so you're speaking my language. That used to be, my house will always have a bottle of Lagavulin 16. It never fail. It's now getting priced out of the market for me. So because we're in Ontario, and I think Lagavulin 16, it's knocking on $200 now.
What? Since when?
Yeah, for that, this is Ontario. We have a provincially controlled liquor board that runs all of our alcohol shops. So it's between $150 and $200 for the Lagavulin 16. So I have moved off of that. It's still a very, very wonderful bottle. I love it. If it's ever at a restaurant or a bar that I'm at and it's there, I'll get one because I love it. That used to be my go-to. You want a solid whiskey, Lag 16 is the way to go. Have you tried any of the Nick Offerman releases? Because he has his own specialty Lagavulin releases.
So I've seen them, but I have not tried any of them.
I buy them. They're very good.
Okay. All right.
He did one in a Guinness cask finish, and then another one in a rum cask. They're all very, very good. Again, you're paying a little bit more because of the Ron Swanson-y branding. But they're tremendous bottles. Like Lagavulin, they do very, very, very good product. The Isla distillery that I am most partial to is Bunnahabhain. They don't do the crazy smoky stuff. They're more sherry, sweeter whiskeys. But I would probably say they are my favorite distillery of Scotch.
One other question. I'm just thinking, as far as these collectible scotches and whiskeys, and or maybe not specifically made to be collected, but maybe just for branding's sake, do they ever brand these with a Marvel or DC or Pokemon or a more comic and or non-adult specific oriented marketing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because I can't imagine that every company out there that markets a kids game is going to be let's put our branding on adult bottles of alcohol. So, I don't know. So I'm curious, do you ever find things like that?
There have been some, not specific co-branding partnerships. I think it was Ardbeg and Glenn Morangy who did some comics that got released with their bottles.
Oh, cool.
Which is cool. I will shout out, there is an independent bottling company, which is a lot of the times where you can find these weird bottles. It's people who invest, they started buying casks directly from distilleries, and then they'll so it's I'll buy a cask of this whiskey from this brand, and then they'll go buy a sherry cask from some sherry producer in Spain, and then they put the whiskey in that cask to give it a nice finish, and then they bottle it themselves, and then they can sell it. So there's a newer company in Canada called Bedford Park, and they hired some comic artists to do their labels, which is super fun. The only legit branding partnership that I'm really aware of is Bowmore does something with Aston Martin, which is they'll throw Aston Martin branding all over their thing, and then they charge a hilarious amount for it because it's Aston Martin.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But it would be awesome if there was Canadian whiskey just has Wolverine written all over it. He's from Canada. He loves drinking whiskey.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just do it.
Oh, man. Of course. It's this perfect team up right there.
Yeah. There's a Canadian distillery called Bareface. How does Bareface and Wolverine just come on? It's right there.
We're doing your jobs for you, marketing teams at these whiskey companies. Come on. All right. Well, that's really cool. I'm sure there's plenty of ones out there, or at least I would think, that team up with maybe sports teams and do some advertising there to some level. But
yeah, I know the Critical Role, that live D&D show.
Oh,
on Twitch.
So it's Twitch. Oh, I know of a live D&D show, but it's on It's like a comedy thing
Mm.
on YouTube. But yeah, sorry. All right. So Critical
No, it's all
Role.
good. So I think they released their own whiskey. They partnered with someone and they've released a whiskey. And then
cool.
like actors and stuff have started kind of doing their own as well. Like, I mean, like I know Ryan Reynolds has a gin, and so there are some like celebrity people who are kind of releasing their own, but it's not like
Doesn't every celebrity have one? Like The Rock has one. The guys from Breaking Bad have their tequila. I think George Clooney has one. Like I mean, you throw a dart at a board of celebrities, the likelihood that they're associated with one or they have one of their own is probably pretty high these days. It really begs the question: when's the first, trading card whiskey and or alcohol going to come out?
There you go. But see, Gary V's he's got ties in it too, right? Let's get some VeeFriends booze stuff going on.
Yeah, what's Gary? What's Michael Rubin and Gary V? What are we doing with all this money if we're not investing it into alcohol-related trading card bottles?
My phone is always on, Gary.
We're doing your job for you guys. Come on. Oh, so man. Good. Hey, Tim Fraser of the Whiskey Geeks, thank you for coming on. And
thank you, Jesse.
Definitely. I think this will be fun. Like I'm curious what the audience reaction is to something like this, because it's definitely not like the normal topic on here, but I do that sometimes, and there have been some really cool responses to, like, when we talked about reselling Pyrex that you find at garage sales and things like that. So you never know, especially our Canadian and European, specifically Irish and Scottish listeners. I'm hoping they get a real kick out of this, but
I'm sure they will.
They'll probably just laugh at me for not knowing anything about scotches and whiskeys. But other than that, I do appreciate it.
No, you get a bum rap sometimes. You're awesome, man. Don't let them get on you. Hey, and I do just before, I know we're probably wrapping up. I don't want to keep you too long. I do want to thank you for providing all of the content that you do, because honestly, I enjoy it. It provides me with hours of weekly entertainment, and because of your show, I did start buying sports cards, and because of Gelman, I started buying some WWE cards. So,
wow, I don't know if I should take credit or apologize, but wow, thank you.
My wife would probably come down and probably want to choke you, but no, the sport card thing, it's super fun. I'm back in just the two quick things that I'm doing. I don't know if one of your mailbags, you asked like what kind of weird collections are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I've got this crazy idea of getting all of the rookie cards for everybody from NBA Jam.
Oh, yes, dude. Absolutely. That's an awesome collection.
Which is pretty fun. I mean, I'm not loaded, so they're not going to be PSA 10s, but I'm starting to work my way through that. And the other fun thing, I'm a big fantasy football player. I started buying nice autographed rookie cards from busts that I've had in the past. So guys that I took in the first round who are no longer in the league and who are terrible. So it's fun to go and find like a Royce Freeman rookie card, or or Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle, who was a tight end for the Colts. So finding autos from fantasy football, from the graveyard of your fantasy football team is a fun lane to be in, I must say.
And I've got to imagine probably quite affordable in many cases.
Very affordable, which makes it even more hilarious.
That's a win-win right there, baby. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that idea.
No problem.
Tim Fraser of the Whiskey Geeks, again, thank you, man. And if people want to check out your content or anything else that you do, where can they find that?
Yeah, so I'm at the Whiskey Geeks. There's an E in whiskey. That's for all you Americans out there, because Canadians and Scottish, there's no E in it. But it's the Whiskey Geeks. We have a YouTube channel. We've got Instagram as well. If people want to get into my other absolutely insane collecting world, which we can maybe talk about. I also collect original comic art. So I've got True North Comic Art on Instagram. You can go and check stuff out there too. So that's an even more insane lane than whiskey. Which,
know what? Spidey Hits is a guy on YouTube who does he does some similar like collecting of original comic art. That would be a fun team up right there. Maybe all three of us get on one.
It's very fun. It's very expensive, but it's very fun.
Okay.
There are ways to do it not crazy expensive, but it's a fun lane. But yeah, thank you, Jesse. This has been wonderful. I, again, love listening to you, and the fact that I've been able to sit down and chat with you is is nuts.
Yeah.
Well, honestly,
hey, the pleasure's all over here on this side of the table. So, I mean, I'm going to cut off the compliment fest because I'm about to go on a rant of compliments and I will overtake you. That's just how I do. I cannot be defeated. So you're wonderful for being flexible with your time, and your red hair's beautiful, and you're Canadian, which is some of the nicest people in the world. So I could keep going, but obviously we have to cut it somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say thank you very much. And yes, we can maybe touch red beards sometime. It'll be weird. Did I make it awkward?
Route. Okay. Wow. I can do that too.
Awkward?
You're
very. Did I make it awkward?
No, never. I'd touch red beards. I'd do it all day.
Nice. Let's do this.
Tim, thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Jesse.
Well, Tim was a delight, a delight from the Canadian North. I don't have enough positive things to say about that guy. He was really cool, down to earth. And again, the red hair was absolutely fire. Where's my rim shot? All right. I did want to mention real quick, courtyard.io, again, marketplace, vending machine. It's a great website if you're looking to get cards, whether you are getting them for no fees, because they've just started doing 0% fees from their marketplace. If you're trying to just get a random card from the vending machine, hoping to hit a big one, but also have like a 90% buyout option for whatever card you hit. Again, I'm a big supporter because I use it all the time. They are a sponsor of the show, but it makes sense why they're popular right now. And apparently they've got something else going on. I'm actually not 100% sure what it is. I got an email and I noticed it says something about like Courtyard and CGC teaming up. Something about a hero or something heroic is landing is what the email said. I'm not exactly sure what that means. There's a teaser, but it doesn't give much more detail. But apparently on the 17th, which is tomorrow, that news will be coming out. So by the time you listen to this, they'll be kicking off whatever new chapter of collecting they're going to be sponsoring on their site. So anyways, be sure to check them out when you get a second. I think that's the majority of the show. I think there was maybe one or two other little things I was going to mention. I am going to Fanatics Fest this coming week. It will be a lot of fun. Hopefully I get to meet a lot of you guys. I will try and have my Sports Boy cards just to give out. I'm going to have, of course, the Fanatics Fest 25 parallels, which will simply be me writing FF25 on there. So, but hey, it'll be unique and obviously garner a premium when you go to sell it on eBay in 30 years. That being said, I'm trying to get some interviews set up too while I'm there. Hopefully get some non-sport, maybe even, I don't know, maybe a WWE person or something like that from the show. So we will see how that goes. But either way, we'll be back next week. Again, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.